The place, City Z. The future is near. Enemies of all types threaten mankind. Only heroes may stop them, and one such hero stands out. His name is Saitama, capable of beating those with one punch. He stands as the strongest of all. Actually, that was actually a really good opening. I wish all my openings were like that. Anyways, guys, hello and welcome to another Surprise Attack review. And today's review, if you haven't clearly figured it out yet, is One Punch Man. Now, One Punch Man, I've been dying to review. Like, you guys have no idea. You know, I kept seeing people review every episode, and I'm like, oh, I must review it. I want to review it. But as you guys know, I don't like doing episode by episode reviews. I wait till the whole series is over. I wait till everything's finished up, and that is how I do reviews. Because, I mean, I'll talk about one episode, but I won't do it episode by episode. That's new. If you're new to my channel, if not, you already know this, and I feel bad for making you go through this again. But whatever. Anyways, so if you didn't understand it already, the concept of One Punch Man is pretty self-explanatory. You have Saitama, a self-proclaimed hero essentially, where he became a hero not through anything really cosmic or supernatural per se. It was more so through really super hard dedication and training, which is why he's actually bald. He trained so hardcore that he lost all of his hair. He actually became able to beat any opponent, no matter how big, how small, how strong, how tough, in one punch using his fist. He can just punch them, and immediately that's it. They're done. Now, what actually is really cool about One Punch Man, though, is that the premise in the initial onset of the show is that, you know, you think Saitama is just going to be this overly ridiculous, overpowered character because of his one punch ability. But what starts off is essentially you see Saitama not at his peak per se. You see him at the like the top, but then you see him then realize that he is undefeatable. He's been able to defeat everyone in one punch, so he's become bored. You know, it's like the concept of what would happen if Superman got bored of being invincible to everything. You know, what's ironic about Superman, for example, who's supposed to be, you know, the greatest superhero, quote unquote, in anything history of comics and all that, is that you always see Superman struggling to fight enemies, like initially. Like, for some reason, they're always able to get some upper hand on him a little bit, but because he's so super strong, because he's invincible, he's usually not hurt by anything they do, except maybe like thrown back a little bit by, for example, like I forget I think it was named. I forgot his name. I'm trying to think of the main guy he fights, but you know, he'll fight the main enemies he has that, like, for example, like Lex Luthor, for example, who always uses weakness of kryptonite, for, you know, just to say, and they always are able to stop him a little bit, but then he throws in this, oh, you know, I'm super strong, so he realizes and then is able to stop them dead cold, you know, without an issue. It's, what if he got bored of that? And One Punch Man asks that question and answers it by having Saitama, the, you know, supposedly unstoppable hero, take a break. You know, it's funny to have this story is that our character, our hero, the guy who we're supposed to like right away, is a lazy slob essentially in the beginning of this. Not in the sense that he looks like a slob, but more so because he's just lazy and just tired and goes, I don't want to fight anymore. Everything's boring. I've beaten everyone. Only until the Earth is once again threatened by these huge creatures, which, by the way, let me name just a few enemies that I think are the best examples of how crazy this show is. You have Octopus Clawman, Big Iron, and Hammerhead. Those names are ridiculous. That's just to add to some of them. There's more names than that, but I just want to throw out three of them as a perfect example of some of the ridiculous names. I mean, I think there's one that's Tongue Twister or something like that. And these are ridiculous names, but this whole show is ridiculous, and I love it. You know, if you saw the hype videos about it, like One Punch Man, it was so big and hyped, and everyone was like, I love it, I love One Punch Man, it's the best thing ever to come out. It had that hype for a reason. You know, when it first came out, it was a manga originally, like, released, I think, way back when. I'm actually looking at my notes right now when it came out. Oh, it came out 2012, so not really that long ago, but, I mean, manga-wise, it was 3 years ago, but we only got a recent anime of it now. And it's still ongoing manga-wise, but what was great about the manga was that it was something that was different. You know, again, the whole hero concept was different. And it was awesome back then. Then when they made this anime for this, and you saw these visuals that are sometimes so outlandishly awesome. Like this show has some of the most beautiful fight scenes I've ever seen in anime. I can't put it enough. Sometimes the show looks ridiculous, and they know when the show looks ridiculous, like where they have the characters like, for example, Saitama is king of doing the doofiest faces, I think, of any anime character. And I mean, if you've seen the various faces online of him, because you just have to look up Saitama, you'll find millions of his like weird faces of just expressionlessness that it's just funny as hell to watch. But in the show, it comes off when he's actually fighting and being serious. This show goes between something almost like shonen series type concepts and super cool action high budget shows. I can't say it enough. Now, one thing I love about the series is that over the course of the show, you meet other heroes. You know, I'm not going to name everyone because that's kind of spoilerish, but you meet other heroes that have the same concepts that, you know, they want to fight strong opponents. They're all kind of quirky. They have their weirdness to them. And I like that. You know, heroes should be a little quirky, I think. You know, one thing that's great about Western heroes like, you know, Spider-Man or Captain America or Thor, you know, and I didn't mean to all name Marvel characters, but, you know, for example, they have their quirkiness to them. You know, like Spider-Man talks a lot and he's always joking around, even though he's not really, per se, he's very strong, but he does lose occasionally. He's joking about a lot of things. You have Captain America, who's essentially a super soldier, who's patriotic, so his little niche is that I'm super patriotic and, you know, all for America. You know, that's one thing that's really great about those heroes. And in One Punch Man, it's almost like that same concept, but in a Japanese setting, where, you know City Z is based off of Japan. It's clearly the way its concept is supposed to be. But one thing I love about it is the way that it tries to be both mimicking its own culture of heroes. Like, you know, One Punch Man in general has a lot of culture that you can see from older stuff, especially if you're huge fans like stuff like Gigantor, Godzilla, stuff like that. You can see the embodiment in the show using that stuff. You know, it's there. You know, some of the enemies he fights can remind you of the whole giant suited characters that came out of the old TV shows in Japan. And I like that. I think it's cool because you don't really see that too often in anime. You see it a lot in manga, but you don't really see it too often in anime. I think the transition effect of anime to actually manga to anime is sometimes lost in that a little bit. One Punch Man embodies the manga perfectly, I think, in my opinion, in that it's quirky, it has some very nice visuals, you know, it has some nice voice acting. It just is overall a good story. I love the whole story from beginning to end. I think the ending felt just right in that it could leave it to being more so. They could add to another season to it, which I highly think they probably will, knowing how popular One Punch Man is right now. And that's only in the Japanese culture. But right now, because it's coming to the West, of course, it's already starting to grow in huge trends of people talking about it nonstop. You know, I'm not the first one, nor am I going to be the last one to talk about One Punch Man. And I think that's really going to show that this series is going to probably be renewed to do another series, you know, eventually. But other than that, not to, you know, I don't want to make this show sound like it's just I'm overhyping it just to be a overhyper, you know, like, oh, it's an amazing show because everyone else says it. No, from my perspective, and trust me, there's other shows that I've watched that people say are great, and I'm like, yeah, they're okay, they're not that great. You know, like, I don't want to start naming them because you guys might get pissed off if I start naming stuff that you actually like. I'll keep it to this one review right now. But, you know, this show is really good overall. Like, besides the hype, besides me going off a rant or, you know, tangent about how great it is, this show is awesome. It's got humor, it's got heart, it's got some cool fights, it's got some nice storytelling. You know, it's got a little bit of everything. That's why if I had to give One Punch Man an A through F score, hold on to your hats, folks, it gets an A. I know that is crazy, but this show is very hard to put down. I binged watched this whole show almost immediately because it's just so much fun to watch. And if you love the kind of superhero concepts and the comic book culture of either the West or the East, you're going to love this show, bottom line. Anyways, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed this review. Please like, comment, subscribe. It really helps me out a lot. That helps me out a lot. There you go. That's the correct way of saying it. Helps me out a lot. Anyways, until our paths cross again in the next review, have a good one, everyone. Bye.